everyone, this is Tricia and welcome to my channel and my farmhouse wedding series. In my series I will be showing you how to put together some arrangements, whether they be a centerpiece, a bouquet to hold in your hand, or a decorative garland. Now I am merely going to be showing you the basics of how to put together these floral items, and it will be up to you to choose as I'm doing or pick your own style, theme and color for your wedding, or whether it be a quince, which is a 15th birthday, a sweet 16, or any other special occasion that you wish to use any of these ideas for. I hope that you will enjoy this, so let's get started. Alright, so to start off my farmhouse wedding series, I'm going to show you how to put together this little bucket candle centerpiece. So let's start with these supplies I'm going to use. I'm going to be using this little tin bucket. You can pretty much use any container that would be round like this. It doesn't have to have this little handle, but I am going to do something special on that. I'm also going to be using this nautical rope. I got this from the Dollar Tree, by the way. This was from Hobby Lobby, but you can pretty much find them anywhere now. Now you could use a nautical rope like I am, or you can use a thinner hemp string if you prefer, or if you want to use a ribbon, go right ahead and get that instead. I'm going to use a battery operated candle. I just happen to have this one already. This is from the Dollar Tree, so I'm going to use that. I've got some ribbons here. I've got a sort of a crochet pattern type of ribbon. It is a cotton ribbon. It is very pretty. I believe I got this from Hobby Lobby, but I can find laces or ribbons like this pretty much anywhere now. And here I've got a wire edged ribbon. It is a sheer pink. I will be opening the package so that you can see it a little bit better. Use any style of ribbon that you like. Again, this is for a farmhouse style, so this is what I chose for that. I'm going to be using some Greenery moss right here. You can use whatever color of moss you want to use. If you want to use Spanish moss instead, go right ahead. We'll need some styrofoam, any piece you might have left over from somewhere. We're going to end up cutting this a bit, so any piece that you have is fine. I'm also going to be using a scrap of burlap. Again, this is a farmhouse theme, so this is what I chose to use. You can use a satin piece of fabric or a wider contrasting, or a wider contrasting ribbon, or maybe the one that goes on top be a little bit thinner so that you can see both. Okay, so this is my little scrap that I happen to have. I'm going to be using some greenery, so any scraps of greenery that you might have, or if you go out and buy a bush, you know, you can buy something that's going to be very cost effective. We're not going to use all of it, we're just going to use a few bits from this. I've also got some florals, and I actually got these two from the Dollar Tree. As you can see, they're very pretty. These are just some roses that have a very pale color to them. There's a little bit of hint of pink in there. It's kind of peachy. I like that. I also like this tone of lavender color. It is a lavender, but it can be any other filler flower that you want to use in there. And then I found these little tulips. These were just something that I happened to find at Burlington. You can get your flowers from anywhere. It doesn't have to be from the Dollar Tree. And as you can see, they're going to coordinate just fine with my greenery. So let's see. The tools that we're going to need are going to be some wire cutters to cut some stems. We need scissors to cut some of the ribbon and burlap. And then we'll need a hot glue gun to adhere things together so they don't move around. And then we're going to use these. These are called greenery pins. Can you see that? This is to attach our moss to our styrofoam so that it doesn't fall out in case our arrangement happens to tip over. And of course, I've got some glue sticks for my glue gun. So I am ready to get to crafting. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decorate my container. This is obviously something you don't have to do, but I want to really give it a really pretty farmhouse wedding look. The container could have been just the regular metal color, and of course you could have spray painted it white or off-white, or leave it in its metal pale color. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and use it as is. It is nice and white, and I love that. And I've got these items that I want to decorate it with. I've got my rope, my burlap, and then I've got this crocheted ribbon that I just showed you. So I'm going to start off with this rope here, and I want to put it on the handle. And we all know how tedious that can be, putting on rope and then feeding the whole thing around and around. So I was trying this out earlier, thinking of how could I do this so that it's not so difficult. Should I just wind this from this end? And you know what? I happened to notice something happening. It was starting to go ahead and coil around if I just go ahead and wind it from this little end here, and it was, you know, picking all of this up and coiling it around. So that seemed to be a really easy way to get this going. Another way I thought would be to take this end and glue it on to here, nice and tight, but not glue it onto the handle. That way I can slide it over and it would be able to roll around. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to glue this little end nice and tight. So I want my rope to be tight. So right about here, I'm going to put some glue, and I don't want it to get on the handle. So just on the outside there. Let me roll it back so I can see the very end of it. There we go. And just glue that down. Alright, so we're going to let that dry really well before we try to twirl this around. I just want to make sure that it does twirl around right now and that it's not sticking to the pail handle. So I'm just checking it, making sure that it can slide. It's not too tight that it can't do that. And once it's dry, we'll come back and we'll just continue doing the rest. Alright, so I've come back and this is pretty much dry, so I can keep twirling this. Just keep twirling it around. And this way, this keeps getting rolled up on the handle. So just keep doing that, and ever so often, just tighten it over here so that the whole thing gets tightened. Now you can do this as loose as you want, or get it nice and tight, because the tighter it gets, the smaller the handle is, you know, because the wrapping causes it to become thicker. So the looser it is, of course, the bigger handle you'll have, but you want to cover the white handle on the bucket. So I'm just twirling the whole thing until I feel I have enough of this twined on here. And of course you can do the same thing with a thinner rope. I don't know if this will work really with a ribbon, so you might want to just go ahead and just keep the ribbon on the roll as you bring it around. But this is a piece of rope that I purchased, and it just came, you know, kind of looped. It wasn't on any kind of a roll or anything, so it was loose. Okay, so I'm getting it pretty much where I kind of want it over here, so I'm just tightening it a little bit, just twirling this, and make sure that, you know, you got an even, you know, tightness on here. Okay, so what I was doing is I'm tightening this. See how it's getting a little bit thinner here, and over here it's still really loose and thick. So what I want to do now, because I've got this nice, I want to go ahead and place some little bits of glue here and there so that it doesn't unroll, and that it stays at this point. And then ever so often just put some glue here and there so that it stays in place. And because I've got it all the way as far down as I want it to go, at this point when I'm adding the glue, I don't mind if it actually sticks to the metal. So maybe we want to go in there and get some of that glue in the metal. There we go. And then just keep doing that all the way. So you've got it all covered all the way down here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep doing this, adding glue. You don't have to do it in between every single coil, just ever so often, just where you feel like that's the sweet spot where it wants to come loose. There we go. Trying to keep an eye that I don't go off the viewfinder here. Okay, so here I'm almost finished, but I am noticing that I might run out of looped rope, but at this point it's only just a few more little turns, so then it's not that big of a deal to go ahead and just pull the whole thing through, because now we're only dealing with maybe just a couple of pulls. I think that's actually all that I will need. So I'm going to go ahead and add some glue here at the very end. This is also a great idea to do in a little bucket if you want like a nautical look. Little beachy theme bucket. Okay, so now that I know that I've got enough of what I need here, I'm going to go ahead and cut the ends so that I can go ahead and also glue that down properly so it doesn't start shredding on me. Those little ends will start to pop open. So we're going to glue them together. I'm actually going to get my fingers in there. Use a little stick or the tip of your craft scissors, oops, to push that so that you don't burn your fingers. Get lots of glue on there. And kind of like push it into the fibers of the rope. Try not to spread it too much because then you'll see lots of glue there, so don't spread it out too much. I've got this one little bit here that kind of wants to come loose, so I just want to make sure that I got enough glue on all those little strands. Okay, so that's what I've done, and there you go. I've got the handle done. So now what I want to do is I want to get some of this burlap and I want to wrap around here. Now keep in mind that this does have a angled sides. It's not straight down, so this is not going to rest on there like perfectly. It's going to be a little crooked wherever I decide that my seam will be. As a matter of fact, guys, if you're going to do this for a wedding, you want to remove all your labels from your items, okay? So make sure you do that, especially if you're renting them out and putting them out on tables, or if you're just selling them. Get all your little labels off of them. Okay. So anyway, so we're going to cut this, but of course it's not going to lay on here straight. So we're not going to worry about that too much. But I am going to cut a piece here. And I want it to be, so measure your little bucket and decide how wide of a piece you want on there. This has like an indentation right here. You could put it way up here, but I want it down here, okay? I don't know if I want it against the bottom or somewhere in the middle here, but there's a little indentation here and I don't want it to go above that. So that space between there and the very bottom lip edge is, let's see, let me turn it around the other way so I can measure it properly. It's just about 3.5 inches. So I think that I can cut this at about 3.5 inches or less. So I'm just going to go ahead and go at 3.5 right there. And I'm going to fold it. If you already have some burlap ribbon, then use that. I happen to have lots of this burlap fabric left over and I've got some scraps, so that's why I'm using that. Okay, so now that I've got it like this, I'm actually going to pull out some of the strands like that. Just pull out whatever you want on both sides, because I want this little edge to be, you know, like this, all nice and shaggy with these little bits on it. Okay, there we go. And then this is where you look at it. Of course, I decided to put this runner on here, but let me put it on here against the white. This is where you look at it and you'll know that, you know, okay, well here it's shorter, and as I go this way, it gets longer. So obviously, you know, the grain of this is cut crooked. Well, that's where you can go ahead and, excuse me, I don't know why I said to go ahead twice, but this is where you can go ahead and start trimming some of the little shaggy bits that are coming out so that, you know, it's all sort of even. And that's how you'll know if your grain is straight. So I'm just trimming it a little bit, making it like the other side. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Over here, it's a really big difference, so I'm going to go ahead and trim it to the smallest, and then I'm just going to remove some more of those little threads. That's a great way to see if, you know, your ribbon is cut on the correct, you know, bias or grain. Well, a bias would be the kind of like at an angle to the grain, so sorry that I used that word. Okay, so there we go. Now I've got it so it's got little shaggy bits on each end. Alright, so now that I have my burlap ready the way that I wanted, a lot of ribbon will already come like that. And if you like that look, then go ahead and grab it. Okay, so I want to put this around here, but like I said, look how it kind of goes up here and then it's down here. I do kind of, now that I look at it, I do like this going upward like that around the little bucket. I think that looks really pretty. This would be a great place to put a decoration or my little bow actually. So I think I'm going to go with this look, but I think I'd like it to be kind of like gathered as it meets. And as you can see here, I cut this so that it would be at least long enough to go around the bottom. But now that I'm changing my design, it's a little bit shorter. So make sure yours is long enough so that the two ends can meet up and actually overlap. So now that I've decided that I kind of like this look, I made a little change, that I've liked this look, I'm going to go ahead and gather those ends. But before I do, I'm actually going to take some of this. And I'm noticing that this is like so wide that it pretty much covers my little shag so that I'm not noticing them. So maybe if I put this on top and take off more of the shag, let's do that. That's kind of defeating the purpose of this beautiful lace, but this is how we make changes. Oh, that looks so pretty. I'm actually going to take off some more, you guys. So let's take off some more. Okay, so this one got pulled through. One of the ones that are going across kind of got pulled a little bit too far this way, so I'm just pulling it back from the other end. Do it carefully. Okay, let me make sure everything is nice. Yes, okay. You're probably thinking, oh, why are you going to hide that beautiful lace? Well, you know what? It's not going to hide too much because I took off a lot of that. And I really like it. So I think the best thing to do if you're going to cut a burlap about the same width that I'm doing is get a smaller width of this crochet type of ribbon. And of course I could also trim the little bits, a little beard on the side here. I could trim that and then I could see the crochet. So you know, I like it like this, guys. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to cut this white one just a little bit longer. Okay, so since I decided to do that little bit of gathering, I'm going to need some wire or a chenille stem. Alright, so I have a leftover piece of chenille stem right here. I'm actually going to cut that in half. And then I'm going to take these ends and gather them and wrap this around nice and tight. And just bring the ends upward. We're going to cover that with a ribbon, the pink one that I showed you earlier. Let me make sure this is all going to go the way that I want it. Okay, so which is a nicer side? I'm looking at which one has a nicer face. There's no scratches or anything on it, so they're both the same. So let's just get started. I'm going to look for the center, which is right about right here. Right about right here. And I'm going to add some glue right there, plenty of it. Put down that chenille stem on that glue. Move it around so you get it on the lace as well. And just glue it down like that. And then you're going to bring it around like that. Okay? This is why I cut this a little bit extra, because I wanted to see if I was going to need that length or not. So then I'm going to go ahead and bunch this up here, or gather it. Wrap this around and twist. I can go ahead and cut that a little excess. And I'm just going to flatten the chenille stem. And then I'm going to put some glue so that I can adhere that right there. And if you want, you can add some glue back here so this doesn't slide up and down, which I will do. I'm just going to pull it a little tight, right about there. And then bring it over here. Got plenty of glue right there. Push down that chenille stem against the bucket where the glue is. And like I said, all this is going to get covered, so don't worry about that. And then any little strands, pull them out. If you feel the need, you got to trim any of that, you can do so. And then just to keep it all from shedding or fraying anymore, we'll add some glue in there. Now some people like to use a lighter on the ends of a ribbon to kind of burn the ribbon, and it kind of melts it into itself. Okay, so down here, because it's protruding the back of the bottom, I'm just going to trim a little bit of it right there. And there we go. There's our little bucket. So now we want to put an arrangement in there. We want to put a bow here. Or if you want to use this as a flower girl bucket, you know, where you could put rose petals in there. You could put a flower right up here in the front with some ribbon, and it'll be really pretty. But we're going to make an arrangement. So let's get to it. Alright, so the next step would be to put some styrofoam in our container, whatever we're using as our vase or, you know, for our arrangement. We need to put some in there. And I'm going to need this to be tall enough here because I'm going to rest a candle on it, and I need it to be wide enough so that I can insert some flowers around this candle. So I've got this long piece of styrofoam, and I happen to purchase it like that. You can find some long pieces similar to this at the Dollar Tree. They might be a little bit thinner, maybe not as long, but they'll be long enough for the height of something like this. And then you can buy several of them to fill in. Okay, so I think this is tall enough. I'm going to put it inside. It's just a little bit taller than it needs to be. So we need to do some trimming. And of course, you also want to try and get this as level as possible because our candle will fit in there. Okay, I think that'll be good. Now, we do have this handle, and how am I going to handle the situation that I want to put a candle on here? Well, the handle, I'm actually going to push it back a bit, and I'm noticing that this is getting loosey-goosey right here, so I'm just going to twirl it and tighten it here, and then add some glue to the actual handle so that it doesn't move around on me. Okay. I didn't glue it down on this end. Okay. There we go. I'm actually going to push it back a little bit, just enough room for my candle. And then when I'm ready, I can put it back right up against it, because of course it's not a real candle, okay? So we're going to push it down just a little bit. Now we can put lots of glue at the bottom of our styrofoam piece. Let me remove some threads and such that are on the bottom here. Okay. And you notice that I used this. This is a craft knife. It's really just like a little steak knife that I got from the Dollar Tree. I'm using it as my craft knife. Do not go into the floral section of your craft stores and buy yourself what is called a craft knife. It is labeled craft knife, and you're probably going to pay, you know, $3, $4, $5, $6 for it. Well, you can just go to the Dollar Tree or Dollar Store and get one for $1. You know, just a few pennies. And I've had that one for a very long time. I haven't had to replace it in years. And it cuts styrofoam just fine. Okay, let's put that in there. Right in the middle. Okay, with our craft knife, we can cut some more pieces because I want to tuck in some here and there. So I'm just going to cut some little shorty bits. Okay, so I'm just going to cut some little shorty pieces. Let's see. It's not going to be as big as this because it's not going to go in as deep because, you know, it's tapered. You know, our container's tapered in. So obviously it's smaller as you go in. So I just want some Since nothing is going to rest on these, I'm not even going to worry that they're cut level or whatever. Just cut them so that they'll fit in there, or maybe they'll fit in like this. Take off this little bit here. And then just push it in like that, guys, okay? See, so you might have to do some shaping. There we go. And you could do these sides too as well. So I'm just going to cut 2 more pieces. Shave off the little corners so that it's rounded. I'm making a lot of noise, forgive me, but this is a way that you do this. Okay. So it all depends on how much styrofoam you want to put in there, because you could angle your flowers that you're going to put in and put it into the side of this styrofoam. Okay, but there we go. Alright, this is how to do it properly. Alright, now that we've got all that in there, and it's nice and tight, but just to make sure that it doesn't pop out on us, we're just going to get some glue, and in between the pieces of styrofoam, just get some in there, and some on the, where it touches against the metal, or I don't know, maybe ceramic, whatever container you happen to be using. So this candle that I'm using, because it's a battery operated candle, I'm going to lay this so it'll dry, because it's a battery operated candle that you have to lift and turn off and on here at the bottom. I'm not going to glue it down. It's just going to rest on here, okay? So let's move this over just a bit. Right there, right in the middle. So to get it to kind of always have that space, I'm going to get 2 of these Greenery pins, and I'm going to kind of angle them inward. But I'm not going to push them all the way down. They're just kind of marking the spot where my candle should slide in and out of. And I'm going to put some on 4 sides. So what would be the front, the back, and then the sides here, to kind of create like a little candle holder so that I can slide it in between. Now you can buy these round plastic candle holders depending on the size of your candle in the floral departments. Sometimes they're hard to find, but you can find them. Okay, so see what I've done here, here, right here, and back here. I have created like a little marking, a little cradle for my candle. So when I put it in there, I've got to put it in between there. So when you have all your flowers on here and you pull this out to turn it on, you can see, oh, okay, that's where my candle goes. All right. And then now we know not to put any flowers, you know, anywhere beyond these, because our candle will go right there. Okay. Let's move that aside. And now we want to add some flowers. And I want some flowers for this to be a centerpiece, so everything can be seen all the way around. Of course, it does kind of have a front, but that's okay. So once we put our little candle in here, I don't want anything to be any higher than this candle. So I'm going to take my roses, and the one thing that I like to do is I like to prepare all my flowers. So you're going to remove any tags off of your floral bushes, or if you're using stems, remove all of that. And then I'm going to move the leaves a little bit higher upward, and of course they can always be moved back down to whatever position you want them. But what I like to do is, when I have a bush, is I like to cut all my flowers off my bush at the most bottom edge, so that I can get the longest stem that I can possibly have, because I don't know how tall or short I'm going to need them at first. So first we want to cut them off of this part. Okay, so now we have all these single stems, okay? And I think for this arrangement, I'm probably going to use about 4. Normally, I like to use an odd number. So if I didn't have a candle here, I would have 5 flowers, and of course, one of them would go right in the center, and the others would go around. But my candle is one of my flowers, which is called this is the focal flower of my arrangement. Okay, so I'm going to pick one of these that I think looks the nicest, and because they're from a Dollar Tree, sometimes they have a little bit of a fraying, so I'm just going to trim that off. Just kind of look at them and pick the nicer ones that are not too crushed. I think this one's good, and that one. Okay, so I'm going to save these two for another project. I will do the same with my little lavender here, because I'll cut off the label and cut it off the bush. And I bought these tulips. These are singles. I'm just going to unwrap them. I'm actually going to end up recycling these for another arrangement, I believe, for myself. Or maybe I'll just keep this little arrangement as is. Okay, so I'm just taking this off. These are already separated for me. They're stems. Okay, so let's get back to this one here. This is what we're working on. I'm going to take one of these flowers, and I'm going to look at them all and choose which one I like the best. I think I kind of like this one the best to go in the front. Now normally I like to recycle all of my flowers, and I don't want to cut the length of this because it's going to be really nice and long, but I can always build a longer stem on it. So I am going to cut it. I really only want it to be about this high, okay? I don't want it to be any higher than the candle. So what I would do is I actually put it against the edge of the table, because then the stem can go up and down and I can kind of see. And then I hold it up to my canister, and then once I have it on there, I had about an inch and a half to 2 inches, so anywhere in 1 inch to 2 inch. That's where I cut my stem, and that's how far in it'll go. But because, like I said, I don't really want to cut this too short, I'm going to go a little bit longer and just try to poke the whole thing in. And I had to cut that little piece off because I needed it to be here, and that went beyond the bottom of the container. So I'm obviously not going to be able to push it to a certain point, so it's going to be too high. So I had to cut that off. So I'm just going to push it in. Ooh, then that's actually perfect. Okay, so I'm just fixing the leaves, and there we go. I've got that one in, and I'm just going to bend it forward just a little bit. And I'm actually going to put a little bit of glue in there because I didn't know where I needed my glue. I didn't know how far it was going to go in, so I added the glue after rather than putting the glue on the stem. Okay, so now I want to do the same thing on this other side, and I decided I was going to use this one because it's a little bit, seems to be a little bit more open. So then we're going to put this one over here the same way we did this one and fold it just a little bit. There we go. Add a touch of glue there so it doesn't slide off out so easily. Okay, so I'm back. My candle just fell off, but that's all right. We'll just grab it back. So now we need to add the other flowers that are going to go on these other separate sides, okay? Opposite sides. So I'm trimming this off. I'm going to bend this now before I put it in. Angle it and push it in just so that it's the same height. A drop of glue. Try not to put your fingers on the glue. Okay, so now there we go. We have 4 points there, but remember, if we were using 5 flowers and we weren't putting the candle, there would be one right here, right in the middle at about this height, okay? You want it to be just a little bit taller than these, but not too tall, just about the height of where these tall little petals here are. So there you go. That's what that would be, but of course we're using the candle in place of another flower. And we can still see our pretty little handle right here. Okay, so now we want to add some filler flowers or some contrasting flowers to our focal flower. And I'm going to go ahead and use these tulips. And again, I want them to go kind of low in there. So I'm going to cut this much off because all this goes beyond the bottom of my container. And well, that won't fit. Not to mention the fact that I also have these leaves here which are creating some bulk. And I don't know if that will push in, if I'll be able to push this into my styrofoam. So, but these I'm going to put them in between the roses. So I'm going to push it in. I think that'll be okay. And it's kind of in between two pieces of styrofoam right here. And that is actually perfect. Just putting a little bit of glue. See that right there? See how it's in between those two pieces of styrofoam? So that fits just fine. And actually I have another opening over here between these two where I'm going to put another flower. So that'll fit in perfectly right there. Wait, I need to cut this. I'm going to use the other piece that I cut off to tell me where my mark is, so I don't have to keep holding it against here, and which is not a big deal. Oops, I'll put the glue afterwards. So, okay, there, and then just a bit of glue, just so it doesn't move around too much. Okay, so now that I've got those two tulips, now I'm going to go here and here. Okay? So what you do on one side, you do to the other when you're creating a centerpiece. Okay, so I know that I won't use these others. Put them away. Look how pretty the tulips look. This is such a pretty arrangement also for Easter, Mother's Day, Valentine's. We still have time for Valentine's. So here we go. Okay, so now that we've got those, now I want to use some of these fillers. I would have liked also something a little bit, you know, like shorter than these, but this is what I found in the color. I didn't go shopping too much in too many different stores that I wanted to go to. Okay, this was missing a flower, but I'm going to just go ahead and cut it off because it might be in my box here where I've got all my stems. I'm going to cut all of these off, but I already know that I'm only going to use 4 of them. So I'm going to take one of them. They all pretty much look the same. I don't know why this one seems to be longer, well, like a longer piece. So I'm going to put that one away. Okay, so I've got these, and then I'm going to go ahead and just between here and there. I think I'm going to put it kind of back behind a tulip, but a little bit to the right of it, okay? So I'm just going to insert it in there, and I'm pushing up the greenery on it. And push it in as far as you can because, again, we don't want it to be taller than our candle. So look, I've created a little trio of flowers right here. So I want to do the same here, here, and then over here, okay? So just take a look at that. The rose, the tulip, and the lavender. I'm going to recreate that. Okay, there we go. We've got our lavender on there. I think that makes a really nice bundling of flowers. That looks really pretty. So let me go ahead and get my candle, and then I'm also going to make sure that these leaves stay out of my way. And if there's any leaf that keeps wanting to flop into the center, all I'm going to do is just hot glue it back onto something, whether it's the stem of the flower or a petal of the flower. Just glue them back so that they don't keep flopping over where you want to be putting, sliding in your candle, because that might get in the way and it makes it, a little bit uncomfortable to put them back. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to fill in between our flowers and make sure that we have some greenery in there so that we don't see the styrofoam and such. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put some green moss, because it seems to be something that I keep forgetting lately, is to put some moss in there. So I'm going to tuck in moss from the, front in like that, but try not to get any right here in the center. And anywhere where the moss is either loose, you can either hot glue it into place on top of the styrofoam, or you can use the Greenery pins to adhere it. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to make a little bit of a mess here with my moss, this little sheet moss. Let me take my trash can to shake off any excess, and then rip off, rip apart little pieces over my trash can to eliminate making a lot of mess. So I'm just going to go between and under these flowers and tuck in this moss, and then if I can tuck it in anywhere in front of that styrofoam into the bucket, I will do so. And then I will take a Greenery pin and pin it down so it does not come off. I don't know if you can see the pin in there, but that's holding on to the moss. So now I can just move over and cover this, and I'm just going to go all the way around and do the same. Alright, so I'm already coming to the, almost at the end here where I need to cover styrofoam. And I've covered it all the way around here on the edges of my little bucket, and you don't see the styrofoam. So I want to put some right here. That's the last little spot that I had. And that little clump that I took out of the bag, that was all I used. I didn't grab any more. So you don't really need to use a lot of this. So if you want to invest in a bag of green sheet moss, sometimes it costs a little bit extra than Spanish moss or some other mosses, but it actually does go a long way. So I would recommend that. And it looks really pretty green. Okay, so now we're going to add some greenery, some little stems on here without getting into that section where the candle is supposed to rest on. So as you can see there, I don't have any moss there. It is just on the edges of my pot, on the inside edges. Okay, now let's go ahead and cut some pieces, and I'm going to just cut them as I need them. I don't know why, but greenery bushes, I kind of like to keep them still on the stem. If not, I go ahead and take them all out and put it. I have a drawer that I put all of this in, or if you have like a little storage box just for your greenery. But it's so much easier to sort out flowers from other flowers than it is to sort out greenery from other greenery. So if you go ahead and keep your leftover bits still on here, they'll all be together. You can just pull the whole thing out. Okay, that's just a little tip. Okay, so I've cut 4, and what I did was I was pushing all the green upward so that I could see where I was cutting, cut the length. But now I'm going to cut it even shorter, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the tip, and then somewhere under the tulip, I'm going to push some into the styrofoam, making sure that I'm not sticking it into the area where the candle's going to lay. So just stick some in there. So I'm going to do that all the way around. I'm just finding my way through the moss there so that I can push that in. Okay, let's see how this looks with our candle so far. That looks really pretty. I'm going to look in here, and I see some little spots that if I look into it like that, I see some little spots where I can see the styrofoam. So I'm actually going to get some little bits of moss, and I'm going to a little bit of pin here to push that in. Just move the flower over a little bit to do that, and then move the flower back. Okay, and I have a little spot over here. I actually think that with just a little bit of glue on it, you just reach in, try not to get it where the candle goes, right there, and this covers that. Here's a little spot right there. Just taking little minuscule bits of green moss. Minuscule. Is it minuscule or minuscule? Okay. All right, there we go. I think it's minuscule because the word is minimum. Okay, mínimo. Okay, So there we go, you guys. We've got our little candle in there. So now we want to put a pretty flower, but I also want to add like maybe some greenery coming down like that. So I'm going to take one of these little vines and just carefully and sort of untangle it from your greenery so you don't pull off any of the leaves. And I'm just going to kind of curve it a bit. Like I want it to kind of come out like that and go towards the front here at the bottom. So now I can go ahead and take this end of the stem, a little tiny bit of glue, and move a leaf here right into the styrofoam right here. And then just bend and shape as you need. Oh, that's looking really pretty. So now we want to put a bow here. I'm going to take off the candle just so it doesn't keep falling out on me. And there you saw, I didn't use very much of my greenery. Look how much more I still have on there. Okay, so let's do a little bow. And I want to put it at the front. And I've got this pretty ribbon. It's pink, but it's sheer. So when you open it up, you really can't see the color too much. But we're going to use this. I am going to cut one end. I'm folding it. And then from the fold, working my way down towards the edges. Snip a little triangle off so I get this little dovetail. And I love this little dovetail on wedding and special occasions. I don't like to cut it straight or even at an angle. I would prefer little dovetails when I'm making these type of arrangements. Okay, so I just needed something short because my pot is short, so you know, the little tail of my bow doesn't have to hang too much. So about 3 or 4 inches really is all you need. And let me get some glue off of my finger here. And then we'll just pinch it. Now this ribbon, it doesn't really have a right side or a wrong side, so we just want to make some loops. And again, I'm going to take about 3 inches fold, which means altogether it's about 6 inches. So like that. I'm not going to make it very, very big loops. I can just pinch it. I'm used to twisting, you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and twist it. All right, let's loosen some more of this out. And I'm not going to use all that ribbon. I'm just going to use a small little portion of it. Okay, so another 6 inches. So I've got 12 inches here. And then another 3 here. I'll add it all up and we'll figure out how much of I used. Let's see, 12 or 18. Okay, so we've got 24 plus 3. We've got about 27 inches. So maybe a yard of ribbon for each of your little bows, and just make them small. I'm going to go ahead and trim right there. I've got another piece of chenille stem that I also, again, I failed to mention that you'll need for your project. We're going to just wrap it around nice and tight, twist the bow rather than the chenille stem, so we know we're tightening towards the bow and it won't slip out. The other tail, again, fold it just like I did the other one, from the fold down towards the edges. Cut out a little triangle so we have another dovetail. Okay, so there's 2 ways you can do this to put this little bow into our arrangement. You could put it on the side and tie it to the handle of your basket or container if you happen to have that. Okay, you could also take this and take another greenery pin like this, slide this greenery pin in there. Okay, well, let me just go ahead and tie it in with this chenille right here. The easiest way to do it is just tie the chenille onto it. And now you can take these ends and poke them into your styrofoam like that, and you'll have a bow in there. But remember, I said I'm going to attach a bow here at the front here to this part here, and when I did, so I don't need that greenery pin. But let's say you didn't do this design like I did, and you just kind of like wrapped it around flat and glued it together at the back or the side, and you don't see it. Then you don't have to put a bow there. You can just attach it into your arrangement. Okay, so I'm going to take this little greenery pin off of it, and I'm going to take the whole chenille stem, twist the ends because it's not going to get tight around anything, and now I'm going to twirl this to itself to create a little flat base right here on the back of our bow. Create a flat base like that, and then you can put glue on that base. And we're going to glue that to this area right in the middle. Make sure little tails are facing down. Right in the middle, and then you can twist your little loops around while the glue is still a little bit wet, so that attaches also, and the loops stay in place. And then wherever you can see a little bit of that stuff, put a little bit of glue on top of it. Press down the back of one of the loops of ribbon onto it, so that hides that. I'm going to do the same right up here. Put some glue right there. I'm kind of pushing it down, just the back of the loop onto that little area where I put some glue. Now if this wasn't sheer, it would definitely for sure hide it, but because I'm kind of pushing it down, but it's kind of, the ribbon's kind of getting folded a little bit, it does help to hide. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And then we'll just get our little tails to kind of spread out a little bit. This is wire edge, so we're poofing up our little bow, our little loops a little bit, so our whole bow is fluffed and pretty. Okay, and there we go. Little bow right on there. Okay. Now you're going to take all of these and you're going to make a whole bunch of them for a lot of tables. There's something I want to do here first. I do have a leaf here that keeps flopping around on me. I'm going to glue it to the back of the flower here so that it doesn't keep doing that and getting in my way, because when we're out putting all this out at, you know, our wedding venue, on our tables, or wherever we're at, we don't want to have to be dealing with that and putting them aside. We want to do things quickly and put them on the table. Having said that, once you've got them on the table and you've got to put these in some sort of box to travel and take them somewhere, then don't worry about fluffing up your bow too much. Don't waste your time doing that. Wait till you've got each of your arrangements on the table. Put them all out where you want them. Then you come back and you can insert your candles quickly without having to move any leaves, and then fluff up your little bow. And that'll look really pretty. Just like that, it'll be easy to put them on the table, sort of like maybe have somebody go around putting these in the center. The next person can come around and fluff up the bow. And then of course, the last thing you probably want to do is put these candles on there. And then of course you could just take them out, light them up, and there you go. All right, everyone, this concludes my instructions on how to create this bucket candle holder centerpiece. I hope that you enjoyed it. I am very happy with it. So I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up. Leave a nice comment down below and let me know what you thought of our tutorial today, and if you're going to be enjoying this series. Of course, it's going to continue through the month of February. I want to thank everyone who has been subscribing, and if you haven't already done so, please hit the little notification bell as you subscribe so that you will be notified when I put up videos. I try to put up videos every Tuesday and every Friday, and as I said before in a previous video, I will be doing this wedding series throughout February, and there will be craft on Tuesday and on Friday, so I won't have my recipe videos for this month. Okay, everyone, make sure you share on your social medias, and as always, enjoy.